Everyone, it's Kathie. Thanks so much for joining me. I have the final project using the November 2017 Paper Pumpkin kit, and I'm going to be sharing 2 additional cards and 2 3D projects using the stockings from the kit. Okay, so we're going to start off with the cards, and for the first card, we're going to make this sweet little angel card. And we're going to start off with the sentiment. So we'll stamp the sentiment Merry and Bright, almost the center of that card panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I left a little bit of a ink bit there. So, oh well, we're just going to have a much bigger curve on that one section. So I used my pencil to draw out the curves, and then with the Dapper Denim, I then just traced it out. And then we're going to cut out the bottom part along the edge, so leaving a little white space there, or white border. And we'll just put that to a side, and then on another piece of white cardstock with Soft Sky and Tempting Turquoise, we're going to stamp out the back side of the tree stamp. And then for the head of the angel, we're going to stamp the back side of the star. And then for the wings, we're going to use So Saffron and the leaves stamp. And I did make a little paper mask there. When you do this, make sure that they're in the right orientation and that the top part of the wing is straight. And then we'll just cut out the angel. And then once you're done that, we'll also cut out the Tempting Turquoise triangle piece. And at the bottom part of that triangle piece, I'm just going to do it a little bit wavy. And then we'll cut it in half. And then I'm just going to take off a little sliver on each side just to make it a little bit smaller. And then we're going to glue that onto the angel. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll create a little itty bitty bow using the twine from the kit. And then afterwards, we'll put some foam tape on the angel. And then with this real red panel, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, I scored starting at 3/8 going up to about 2 inches. And I was supposed to go 3/8 all the way across, but then I miscounted. So it's 3/8, 3/8, 1/4, and then I just kind of went all over the place after that. So it's not totally even across, but it still works. And then that Merry and Bright piece, we're just going to glue that down. And then with Tempting Turquoise, I decided to put stars at the top there because it looked a little bit too plain. And now we're ready for the angel. And I already put some foam tape on the angel. Okay, so pretty quick card. And then I stuck it down on a top folding card base. So that's it. Really easy. And here's a couple of stills of the finished card. You could probably put some sequins on it, but I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. All right, now for card number 2. I really like how this turned out. So we're going to stamp the same sentiment, a little bit lower this time, and then we're going to draw a couple of berries, 3 berries, and then with Wild Wasabi and the little leaf stamp, we're just going to stamp a whole bunch of times to give it that I don't know, kind of fadey, glowy look. And then with tree stamp, we're going to build a big tree. And I'm going to call this like watercolor stamping. So we're just going to stamp the tree like so to make this tree bigger. And I know we have some little spots, blank spots. So grabbing Pear Pizzazz, or sorry, Pink Pirouette, and then only stamp part way on that stamp there, the tree stamp. And then we'll just stamp all the way around the tree. And then with Pear Pizzazz, a nice dark color, just to give it some extra punch. Okay, and then just to give it that extra glow, I stamped around it with Lemon Lime Twist. And again, once it dries, it's going to blend together. And then to really tie it together, I'm putting white dots all throughout that tree with white pigment marker. And here's that little ribbon thing that I made on one of my other videos. And this is what it looks like in real red. Really striking. And I also stamped and hand cut out the Merry and Bright sentiment. And then these little stars is from the retired star punch there because it has all different sizes. I think the glittery stars really added to the tree. And once I finished that and I looked closely, I was like, oh no, I stamped on the back of that panel so you can kind of see it. So I'm definitely going to redo this card. I really, really liked how it turned out. Okay, now we're going to move on to the first 3D project, and we're going to create an elf boot. And I wanted to color this stocking, but so I'm going to use the real red marker, and I'm starting there because there was a mark on my boot. So that's the whole reason why I've gone with this plan. We're just going to color it in. And the thing about using this marker is that you really had to wait for it to dry. And although I did hit it with my heat gun later on, it was still kind of getting all over my hands. I was going to use alcohol markers. You still kind of have to let it dry still, but alcohol markers will go on a little smoother. Nonetheless, once this dries, it looks fine. The thing about using the marker opposed to sponging it is that it goes on bolder, which is what I wanted. And that was just a quick show you that the marker is not ruined or anything. It still writes and works fine. So I'm just going to continue on and add some more color on the heel of the boot on both sides. And to color this stocking in, it took me a total of about 10 minutes. And here's where I just attempted to dry the ink. So here's that piece I mentioned where I sponged it with the blending tool. And I was sponging and it wasn't getting dark enough. So I gave up, and that's why I decided to just color it in with a marker. And then here's a toilet paper roll, which I cut down to 3.5. And then I lopped off that one corner. We're going to shorten it later on too, by the way. And then here's a half piece of paper towel that I'm going to stuff into the boot. And I do have another half, which I ripped into a quarter. And we're going to stick those 2 quarters in there just in case I need to pull one out. And the thing about this boot is you want the bottom part to kind of be flat, or the front part of the boot. So we're just going to stick that toilet paper roll holder in there. Or not holder, paper roll. And so we're going to make the little decorative edge on the boot and use a sharp pair of scissors. So I started off on each side first. So just kind of cut in a triangular form there. And then do the center part in a triangle. That worked out pretty good. And then just flip it over and voila. I really like how it turned out. Okay, so the paper roll holder, or the paper roll, is still a little bit long. So we're going to chop that a bit in a little bit later. And you could leave it as is, the boot that is. But I'm going to cinch in that front part, and I have some gold twine, which is retired. It's thickish, but I'm going to use that. And my goal here was to cinch it in, kind of like crisscross, like on your runners. But that didn't happen. I sewed it kind of messily. So I'm sure you'll do a much better job than I did. So you just want to throw in, I don't know, I think I sewed maybe 6 to 8 stitches there. And see how it's cinching in, and then the front part of that toe is coming up. Awesome. I really like that. And then here's a sad pom-pom. I used the twine from the kit, and I used a little fork, and I did it only about 20 times. And the twine is not very thick for a pom-pom, but nonetheless, it worked. So I'll show you a little later when I make another pom-pom. And of course, you know, hindsight, I should have maybe colored the boot in green, but anyway, it still looks good. And here's where I'm going to cut off the paper roll there just to shorten it. So about 3/8. So it's below that fold line. And then this part here is two of the green leaves, and I cut out the gold snowflake and then stamped and cut out the joy word and stuck them all together, basically. And then I decided that I'm going to do a little loopy thing on the back of the boot. So with the gold twine on the needle still, I just did that very quickly. And then there's the clothes peg or clothes pin from the kit. And that's pretty well the boot. And I think it's really cute. Turned out nice. And you can, you know, stuff stuff in there. I didn't have any candy, so I tried stuffing my little ink spots in there. Just so you can look or see where I was going there. And then here's a quick look of the stocking itself compared to this boot transformation. And I really like how it turned out. Really cute. And you can make, like, if you make a whole bunch of them, they'd be great for advent calendars. And they looked pretty awesome on the tree. All right, we're going to move on to the final 3D project. And this is going to be a nose. And it's a 2x2 canvas that I tied with white twine. And I did stuff it with a little piece of paper towel. And then I kind of sponged it with a little bit of red that was on my blending tool. So I have some thread here on a needle. Yes, more sewing. And I just kind of put a couple stitches on the nose before I stuck it onto that stocking piece there. So basically you just want to get that nose on there real good. So I did sew it a bunch of times, not just a couple times that you saw there. And then I'm stuffing that with a half piece of paper towel and a quarter piece. And you don't want it too puffy. So that, and then here's the fork part that I was mentioning. I think I twirled this about 25 times, and this twine is thicker. It's white, and it is a product of Stampin' Up, but I'm not sure if it's still available. So just cleaning up this bow part, or the pom-pom, just creating it really quickly for you and trimming it down, and it still looks kind of ratty, but it's fine. And whatever I had left on my blending tool there, I decided to give it a little bit of color. And then we're just going to flip over that top part of the stocking like so to create our gnome. So I think he's pretty cute. And then we'll just fuss a little bit with the hat. And then, sorry guys, but more sewing here. And I'm just doing this really messy too, by the way. So just straight stitch all the way around that rim. And then once you're done, you just pull that tight to form that hat part, the cap hat part. And then we'll just stick down that pom-pom or a couple of stitches for the pom-pom and just a couple of knots and then snip that off and then kind of fuss a bit with the hat there. And then I decided I'm going to give him some hair. So I twirled about, 3-4 times, tied the center, cut the ends, and then I folded it together. Now you can actually hot glue this to the hat. So I just kind of set it in there until I got the other hair bits in there and thought about it while I fussed. And I decided to put a loop on this guy too. And then here's where I decided I'll just sew them in. So I just stuck the needle in the center part of the hairpiece, stuck it in the hat, placed it where I wanted it, and just a couple of stitches and then tied a knot. So you just do that on both sides. And then for good measure, I just put a couple of stitches right above his nose there so the hat doesn't slide up. And that's it. So the very bottom part of that stocking gives that illusion of his beard. So that's what we're suggesting here. I think he turned out really cute. And you can very well make a snowman too. You just have to do the ... all the way around for his mouth and then not put the pom-pom on his head. Well, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye for now.